physically identified. So there is an issue. Does God exist? Where is God? If God exists, how do we know Him? How do we understand? So the first thing that we question is, how do we know God? How do we know God? Do you think it's easy to know God? I don't know nobody would answer that. Well, I'll tell you something. You notice that there are people like husbands and wives who live together perhaps for many, many years. And there are times in their life that a wife would say, until now, I do not know my husband. And husband will always say, after 30 years of getting married with a woman, he would scratch his head and said, I still could not understand. And parents, after taking care of their kids and their kids have grown up, still their kids are married and having children already, still they could say, you amaze me, I could not fully understand you. Now my point is, if we human beings could touch one another, eat together, interact with one another, live together, still have a problem of deeply knowing one another. Now I ask you, how much more difficult it would be to know a God that you do not see? So it's a well-given thing that it's not easy to know God. Now, after knowing God is another question that we always ask, can we know Him really fully? Well, as I said, I'm married to my wife, I love my wife, we know Him, but in our relationship, there are always still surprises. Something that happened that you don't expect. Because we really do not know and cannot penetrate the very hearts and minds of people. And so we may know people physically, but we may not know fully that individual. Do you agree with me? Because we're the one who say that, I cannot understand you. You're hard to understand. And so again, it's not hard, it's really hard to understand the living God. Simply because of many reasons. He is a spirit. We are in a physical creation. We are created by God. We are limited in the physical world. And when we talk about God, we know God is a spirit. Now, interestingly, here in the United Kingdom, or not only here, I think there is much interest now about seance, which means about the study of ghosts. There are television programs called Ghost Hunters, Haunted House, and they put cameras in places and hoping that they would be able to see a spirit and hoping that they would see a ghost, someone who is not in the physical but would appear dramatically in these such places. Now, although it seems so interesting, but until now it's not going anywhere. Because nobody can fully describe and understand what they call the ghost. Unless you believe that ghost looks like Casper, then all ghosts are like Casper, but they're not. So God is a spirit, and I'm saying God is a ghost, but He lives in a different dimension of life. His dimension is not our dimension. He's not a UFO, mind you. But He lives in a different dimension, the spiritual dimension, that you and I could not describe. Nobody could ever describe or define what is a spiritual world, because it is unseen. And God is in spirit. And then the Bible says He is holy and perfect. Now, it's difficult to find someone who's holy and perfect and blameless. It's difficult to find someone who is perfect in all his way. Because we are looking from an imperfect eye. So we could never fully comprehend perfection or God in His holiness. We can only take a glimpse of what He wants and what He asks us to do. But to comprehend the holiness of God is beyond imagination, because we are using our imperfect eyes, imperfect reason, imperfect moralities, imperfect righteousness, and we try to gaze upon God, and we could not. Another thing is the Bible said He is beyond comprehension and cannot be contained.